This is Sparta! Lay down your weapons! Come and get them! Tonight we dine in hell! Spartans! What is your profession?
Hello everybody, this is Spartan from Spartan Games, and welcome to my official review for the Aquaman movie. I just came back from the theater, I sat down in my chair, I'm going to talk about it with you guys. This first part we're going to be doing is just going to be a non-spoilery, kind of just my general vibe of the movie and what I thought of it as a whole. A little bit later in the video, I'll be hitting it into the actual spoilers, things I liked, things I didn't like, about actual specific details. So when that section starts, I'll throw up a spoiler warning just so you guys know. Those of you that don't want spoilers, you can get out of that. All right, let's talk about this. All right, so my overall thoughts. In my opinion, making that very, 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 very clear, this is the best movie DC has put out since the Dark Knight trilogy. Live-action DC movie. I'll make that amendment. The best live-action movie DC has put out since the Dark Knight trilogy, in my opinion. On that note, however, this is also now one of my favorite superhero movies. It beats out some of the MCU for me. However, there were some things that were a little bit odd. Some of their music choices for certain scenes felt strange. Kind of led to a little bit of a clash of tones, and then also in the very early half of the movie, they did something I really, really liked. They did a very good job establishing Black Manta as a secondary antagonist, and for actually about the first quarter of the film, before Aquaman finally actually goes to Atlantis, I was more curious about what was going on with Black Manta than I was with Aquaman, which is awesome. Way to go, writers, on that one. And that was just fantastic. They did a good job of delving into Black Manta's character and his motivations very, very early on in the film. And it made him very, I don't want to say relatable, because it wasn't really relatable, but it made him very empathetic. So I really like that, and I really like what they're doing with Black Manta. I'll talk about Black Manta stuff a little bit later on, more in the spoiler section. I'm also going to talk about the first end credit scene. So as I was saying, some clash of styles in regards to music and stuff. Ocean Master was absolutely fantastic. Patrick Wilson did an amazing job playing Orm. Some of the stuff was weird. The costume for Ocean Master, it looked pretty cool, relatively faithful to the comics. Some color changes, obviously, and obviously just some other aesthetic changes. But for the most part, they maintained a steady feel of being faithful to the appearance of how things should be in the comics. What else can I get into without really my spoilers that I want to talk about? Amber Heard did a very good job as Mira, in my opinion. The relationship which Mira and Arthur have in the comics, they did a very good job of creating that and not making it feel artificial. There was a moment towards the end where it felt very rushed and artificial and very movie trope. But overall, it was very, very good moments for building that relationship up from how it was in the beginning, where it's kind of just kind of just like they tolerate each other to accomplish the mission. But Dolph Lundgren, amazing. Nicole Kidman did an amazing job as Atlanta. And then my boy, Tamura Morrison, Jango Fett, fantastic job as Tom Curry. Because anytime I see him, I absolutely love him, because Mandalorians for life. But yeah, all in all, I give the movie a solid 7.5 or 8 out of 10 for me, all in all. All right, so that's going to be it for my non-spoiler review. Now let's get in and let's talk about spoilers. Spoiler warning. Okay, now the spoiler warning is up. Those of you that are still here, I trust you are prepared to be spoiled for the movie. So let's talk about it. So obviously, in the very beginning, we start off with the meeting of Atlana and Thomas Curry, and then about the first 10 minutes of the film is just kind of setting up their family dynamic with young Arthur, and then she has to leave, all that good stuff, and then we jump to Arthur in that fish tank scene, which was in a lot of the trailers where he's talking to the sharks and stuff. That was a pretty cool scene with how they did it. The shark was very, very would have been very scary. And so and then immediately after this, they jump into the submarine scene, which we all also saw in the trailers. And this is where we pick up with Black Manta and Manta's father, who is being played by Michael Beach, who I love as an actor as well. I cannot pronounce the name of the actor who plays Manta, and I don't want to try because I don't want to offend anyone. So I'll just be referring to him as Manta for the purpose of this. So they go through that, and they do a very good job of making you feel for Manta and his father. There's this really nice moment where Manta's father gives him a knife that belonged to his grandfather, who served in World War II and was one of the frogmen in that war. And it's just a cool moment. It has the Manta on the blade, and it's just a really, really cool moment. And then we see a battle between Black Manta and Aquaman when he boards the sub, and Manta gets absolutely wrecked. And then this was something that was a little weird, because in this kind of opening sequence, I was more rooting for Manta than I was for Aquaman, because because of Justice League and other movies that came before it, I wasn't very invested already in Aquaman. And by the time Aquaman showed up, we'd already had 5-10 minutes with Manta and his father for me to become emotionally attached to them. Which, James Wan, excellent, way to go for you, and excellent choice. But so Manta's father ends up getting pinned beneath a torpedo as the submarine is sinking, and Aquaman he makes a decision to leave him there with a fantastic line of, "You killed innocent people, ask the sea for mercy," and then he left. And so Manta's father died, and Manta is filled with vengeance, and that sets him off on this whole other course, which is fantastic, and I absolutely love. From there, we go on the traditional kind of hero doesn't want to go after Mira comes and talks to him. Hero doesn't want to go and do what he has to do, blah, 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 blah. They took a lot of... they did take a lot of cues from the Justice League animated movie, Throne of Atlantis, I'm sorry. And I did not mind that one bit. The fake Atlantis attack by the submarine was something they did. They had hired Black Manta to take that sub so they could do that. I did not mind that they took that. That was something I really liked. I liked Throne of Atlantis, the animated movie. I really enjoyed that. And also continuing along some of the stuff they borrowed from that. Mira going and getting Arthur is another thing they borrowed. But something that I didn't realize they were doing, so all of Justice League takes place before this movie. Something that I know I had heard, and I know some other people had heard, was that Justice League was going to kind of be like at the quarter mark of this movie, and like the first quarter of the movie was going to be before, and then Justice League would happen, and like 3/4 of the movie would be after. But no, so it was all post. It was all post Justice League, which I feel like was an okay thing. I feel like that was the right call instead of doing some time jumps. But they go to Atlantis. Atlantis, absolutely gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous city visually. Or it did feel, just looking at Atlantis, it did feel a little out of place. I don't want to say it felt. There were many moments when you're going through Atlantis and you're going through the ocean towards Atlantis, and just the use of Atlantean technology. It felt very space and very sci-fi, and not so much underwater. Which I imagine that was possibly the vibe they were going for. It just felt a little odd to me. Not necessarily complaining. I absolutely love sci-fi. It was just a little odd. But then we had a fantastic duel between Orm and Arthur, which was absolutely amazing. Led to a nice little chase sequence, and then set us off on our adventure, which I like to call Uncharted. So at this point, they're journeying throughout the world. Go to the Sahara. We see that shot from the trailer. Then they go to Italy, which is where we got the Manta face-off. Now, we had Manta show up again, now decked out in all of his gear. And as soon as he came on screen, I lost my mind. I was so happy. I love Manta in the comics, and I love Black Manta in this. We get to see him in this movie. We get to see him get his gear from Orm, and it's Atlantean gear, but then he takes it and completely integrates it with his own stuff, with the suit he was wearing earlier on in the movie. And it's this very kind of cool, like Spider-Man building his own suit, Batman building his own suit in the Dark Knight trilogy. It's this cool thing which we haven't seen a lot of in more recent films, more recent film. I got very big vibes when I was watching it to Iron Man when he was constructing the original suit, the Mark I in the cave. I got big flashbacks to that moment from 2008. So that was a cool little thing. I mean, obviously Black Man is a villain, but it gave me some weird nostalgia vibes just because of how he was doing it, rivets and all this fancy technology. I just thought it was very cool. I don't want to call it a nod, but I think it was a nod. So it was a very cool nod to Iron Man. I feel like. And then Black Manta was just absolutely fantastic in that fight scene. A thing about the film, there was no point where I felt like the hero was gonna fail, really, because I mean it's the origin story for Aquaman. There's not really a whole lot of quote unquote stakes. Because you know he's going to succeed and you know he's going to do that. So that's something going into the film that I was kind of like, yeah, okay. But there were many moments where I was on the edge of my seat like, oh man, stuff's about to go down. For example, with the Manta fight. At the very end of the Manta fight, though, I felt they took Manta out of the movie prematurely and in kind of a chump way. Like, he got hit with... So... Aquaman kind of threw him against the wall, kind of messed with one of his jets, and then he was thrown up, and then he threw a rock at him, and the rock knocked him into the water, and then we didn't see him again for the rest of the movie until the end credit scene, in which he gets rescued and proceeds to be badass. I was hoping it was going to be a direct Injustice League teaser, like we got at the end of Justice League, because we see him floating across the water on like a pallet, and then a boat comes to get him, and I was really, really hoping that boat was going to be Lex Luthor with Deathstroke, but I have a feeling that DC's trying to phase out Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, just because of how well that went over. But Yahya Abdul-Mateen, I think is how you say it, did an absolutely amazing job as Manta. I bought it completely. And I was so worried when he went in the water that they were going to have killed off that character. I was so worried about that. If they had killed him off, that would have completely ruined the movie for me. And if he hadn't been in the end credit scene, it would have made this movie so much worse for me. But again, I liked this movie quite a lot, as I said. Pretty good. There was a nice kind of fun comic relief moment. So they established early on in the film that only those of like Atlantean royalty can breathe above water and above water, below and above water. So the big suits that we see the guys running in that trailer sequence, which we see in the movie, Those are filled with water so that the guys in there can breathe, kind of like reverse scuba tanks, not for scuba tanks, reverse scuba suits. But there's a pretty funny scene where one of the Atlantean soldiers gets his broken, so he has to go stick his head in the toilet. Nice little comic relief moment in the middle. So there's a lot of little comic relief moments to break things up. Several times though, they did do a thing that I don't like seeing in my movies, which is you start off and you have your conversation, and then the wall explodes, and then action scene. I don't like that when that happens 4 times in a movie, because it becomes predictable and it becomes kind of like, yeah, okay, it's another one of those. But again, I digress. And then moving on in the film, they go to the trench. Trench, absolutely terrifying. The trenchers looked great. I really liked that sequence with the flare where it was all lit with red. And then they threw me for a curveball. I thought they went back in time for a little bit, but no. Because they go through a portal and then there's dinosaurs. And it was really weird, and I was kind of just sitting in theaters like, wait, what? But then we revealed that they actually went to center of the earth, which I should have picked up that they were going to be doing that, because the very first line of the film was a quote from Jules Verne, who wrote "Journey to the Center of the Earth," and they went to the center of the earth with the dinosaurs and all that stuff. So it was kind of like, huh. So I should have seen that coming. But so that was a pleasant surprise. And then they get there, and they find out his mother's alive. She's been alive the whole time. She's just been living there since she was supposedly executed. And that's where the trident's hidden. And there's kind of this trial Aquaman has to go through with, I forget what they're calling the monster in the movie, for the sake of simplicity, because it reminds me of the Kraken from Clash of the Titans. I'm going to call it the Kraken. The Kraken kind of puts him through like a little mini trial that he has to earn the trident. And it's this amazing moment where he grabs the trident. He's like holding it there. And the music is like, ah! And then it's just that. And then standard final battle sequence going on after that. He goes, fights Orm, fights with the army, and using the power of the Triton and his power to talk to fish. He calls the entire ocean, and they come and they help him. And it's this cool moment where all the Atlanteans that are serving Orm are fighting all of the Atlanteans are fighting like all the sharks and the whales and dolphins and everything else that Aquaman has called to help him fight, including the Kraken. He has the Kraken on his side, which was so cool. And then they do the final duel is done above the water on like a capsized Atlantean ship. And it was a really cool moment between them. I feel like they did not kill Orm. I feel like they may or may not be setting him up to come back as maybe another villain coming back, or maybe he's gonna come back as a I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like he will return. I remember in the Flashpoint movie, Ocean Master was served Aquaman as king. So I kind of wonder if that's how he'll return. He'll return in the capacity of he's serving Aquaman. Because towards the end there was it felt like there was the possibility for their relationship to be fixed. I mean, very, very slight, but I felt like the possibility was there. There was a moment in the final battle, though, that I did not like. Again, it had to do with the relationship between Mera and Arthur, the standard go get him, tiger, and then the long kiss with the circling camera, the movie trope, the movie trope battle kiss. It's kind of just like, yeah, okay, I've seen this before. That was a moment where I felt like the relationship went from a organic relationship to a very movie relationship, if that makes complete sense. In my head, that makes sense. But again, all in all, fantastic movie. I very much enjoyed it. What else do I got? I think that's it, actually. Yep. That's all I got. As I said, I give this movie a solid 7.5 to 8 out of 10 scale for me. I really liked it. I'm going to be going and seeing it again on Monday with another set of friends. And it's going to be a different viewing experience for me going seeing it that time because I'm not going to be using my my analytical eyes. So I imagine that'll be a lot more fun. But that is going to be it for this episode. If you like this episode and you like this review, please leave a comment down below. Please leave any questions you have about the movie or any questions about my opinion about the movie down below in the comments as well, and I'll try to get back to you on that. Feel free to tweet me those questions as well at Spartan Games 9 on Twitter. You can also check out the Facebook page. Those are also all on my YouTube About page. And please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you get notifications when I post new stuff. And I will see all of you in the next video. Stay Spartan. Hooroo! Hooroo! Hooroo!